Don't you just love it when you get punished for someone else's mistakes? No? Oh, well, that's unfortunate for you. The previous group of prisoners were sent on a simple mission to collect some IDs for the Warden. But for some weird reason, that group just felt a bit rebellious, so we had to give them some extra motivation. And I suppose it was a little bit too much for them to handle, and, well, now the job falls onto your shoulders. And of course, that motivation is still in play, so, better start running. Hello everyone, Professor Scaly here, and welcome to the alternate R2C2 level guide. Just like always, we start off with your loadout, and this time around, I recommend you bring with you a bio-tracker, a mine deployer, a C-foam launcher, and then either a burst sentry or a sniper sentry. And the two most important tools in this loadout would definitely be the bio-tracker and the mine deployer. And the reason for that is because in this level, from start to finish, you're going to have to deal with an error alarm that'll spawn in a few regular strikers or shooters every so often. So being able to tag those enemies and know where they spawn from and what direction they're taking to get to us will help out quite a bit. That, and there is a fair amount of infectious fog in this level, so if we're going through a zone with a ton of it in it and we can't really see all that much, it would be really nice to be able to tag the enemies that are coming after us, so definitely bring a bio-tracker with you. As for the mine deployer, I really like bringing this tool into the level, as there are some alarm doors as well as some blood doors that we have to deal with, and the mine deployer is beautiful for every single one of them. During an alarm, just simply shut a door, maybe reinforce it with some C-foam, slap a mine on it, and you'll be good. Blood doors, just put one or two onto the door, and it'll deal with most of the enemies for you. As for the C-foam launcher and then the sentry of your choice, these can help out from time to time in this level. The C-foam launcher isn't really all that great for the first alarm, as we will be using a funnel strategy, but it can help out quite a bit for the second alarm, which might be a little bit more difficult to some people, as you have to do it while surrounded by infectious fog. So it can help out, but by no means is it really necessary to beat the level. Same thing with the sentry. I prefer a burst or a sniper sentry, as using the funnel strategy, I want a mid to long range combat sentry, and these two are the best for it. So if you want to, you could mismatch this loadout a little bit. I would just say that no matter what, make sure you bring a mine deployer and a bio-tracker with you, as those are the most important. And then if you want to bring a C-foam launcher with you, you could, or if you want to bring two sentries, you could. It's completely up to you and your team. Multiple different ways you could go about completing this level. Dropping down into the level, you'll see that your main objective is to collect 7 IDs, and there's actually a total of 9 of them in the level. And these IDs will always be located in the same 4 zones, specifically zone 114, 116, 118, and 119. However, the amount per zone can vary anywhere from 1 to 3, so at some point in the level, you are going to want to check how many IDs are in all 4 of the zones. That way you know which 3 you do want to go into, and which one you want to avoid like the plague, because you only ever have to actually go into 3 of the 4 to get the 7 that you need. And of these 4 zones, the only one that you have to go into no matter what would be zone 114. So that'll be one of them, and the other 3, only 2 of them are going to be the ones you want to go into. As for you and your team, you're going to be starting off inside zone 112, and like I mentioned earlier, there is an error alarm in this level from start to finish. This error alarm will spawn in 4 regular strikers or shooters roughly every 45 seconds, although the first wave of enemies will spawn in pretty early on into the level. So as soon as your feet hit the floor and you're able to move, I recommend you run straight north of you, go beyond the open room divider, and then go to the far eastern side of the room, head north a little bit more, and get that door open ASAP. This door is crucial for an upcoming alarm. We need to make sure it's open and preserved until then. That way we can shut it and ensure that our funnel strategy will actually work properly. So once you get it open, deal with the first few enemies, go around, collect resources and any consumables you can get, and then head to the northern end where you find the security door to zone 113. This door is just a full team scan, so finish the scan, open it up, and once you go into 113, go to the right of you and get those 2 doors open immediately, as they will also be useful for the upcoming alarm. Once you get them open though, you're going to have one person go to the western end of that first room where you'll be able to find a terminal. They're going to hop on it and they're going to be checking those 4 previous zones for the IDs. That way you know which 3 or 4 you actually have to go to. And then you're also going to be checking where the fog turbines are in this zone, as well as the power cell, and pinging those for your teammates. That way they can more easily find them if they are having a little bit of difficulty. As for everybody else on the team, you are either protecting the person on the terminal, or you're going throughout the zone looking for resources and looking for one of the 2 fog turbines and that power cell, as you're going to need both of them in order to continue on further into the level. Once you have all that, you can head back into zone 112, go to the northeastern corner where you'll find the generator, plug your power cell in, and then head southeast a bit where you'll find the security door to zone 114. This door is going to have a class 3 alarm tied to it, So let's quickly take a look at a map overlay. As you can see with the overlay, there are two different locations enemies can spawn from, either all the way down south or all the way up north. If they spawn up north, they're going to have to go through one or both of these doors right here, depending on exactly where they spawn at. So make sure both of these doors are shut, mined, and seafoamed if you brought a seafoam launcher. And then when it comes to southern enemies, as long as you keep this door right here shut and this door right here is left open, enemies will path through that open door. They have to go up the staircase, across the catwalk area, and then down another 5 staircases to get to us. And that catwalk area is where you're ideally going to want to set up your sentry or sentries if you brought multiple of them. That way, any enemies that come from the south have to go through the line of fire in order to get to you and your team. As for you and everybody else, you're just going to be focusing on the scans. Your scans can go near where those sentries are positioned, as well as down below in the infectious fog, so maybe bring the fog turbine with you if you don't have a fog repellers. But once all the scans are done, deal with any of the enemies that are still left alive, pack up the sentries, grab any of your mines that did not go off, and then I would recommend wait for another wave of enemies to spawn in, and as soon as one spawns in, open up the security door to zone 114 and head right on in. And once you get in there, you're going to want to follow a similar route to that you could see me taking. I actually deviated just slightly from the rest of my team, as you may notice, so ignore that little hiccup there. Just follow the route we take and get to the far eastern side of the zone, making sure you shut the doors behind you, because over there you'll find the security door to zone 115. And this security door does have a class 2 alarm tied to it, and while it's a pretty easy alarm to deal with, I've seen a lot of groups fail right here now because they have to deal with that alarm while a lot of enemies are coming after them and they are surrounded by infectious fog. So get over there, shut the door behind you, activate the alarm door. You could see from the door you just came in through right away if you want to, or you can hold off a little bit. Because as you can see with the map overlay, there's only one location enemies could spawn from, but there are a few different routes they could take to get into your room. Assuming everything is kept shut, they will more than likely take these two doors, so if you want to try to seafoam and mine them really quickly while your other teammates focus on the scans, you could do that. Or you could just simply all focus on scans, get them done, and as soon as you finish every single one of them, open up the security door to 115 and go up above. That way you get out of the infectious fog levels and you can deal with all the enemies up there. Assuming you can actually make it up there just fine and you could plop down your sentry or sentries, you shouldn't have too much difficulty with it. And once you dealt with all the enemies from the alarm and you're back to just dealing with the air alarm enemies every so often, you could just explore that zone 115, look for resources and whatnot. There is a disinfectant station in the first room that you can use to fully disinfect you and your team. There's also a color key card that will spawn somewhere inside the zone, which this color key card will give you access to zone 119, which is found towards the beginning of the level. So if you and your team are planning on going into zone 119 to get your IDs, make sure you grab this key card. The only other thing to really take note of when it comes to zone 115 is the fact that there are a total of 3 different security doors in this area. One to the north, which leads you to zone 116, one to the east, which leads you to zone 117, and one to the south that leads you to zone 118. So let's just sort of rapid fire through every single one of the zones from this point on, as this is the point in the level where people's paths are going to deviate depending on which zones they are and aren't going into. So starting off, if you want to head into zone 116, you're first going to have to go to the east inside zone 117. And the reason for that is because the security door to 116 is unpowered. It requires you to plug a power cell into the nearby generator, and that power cell will always be located to the east inside zone 117. Thankfully, that security door is just an open door. There's not even a full team scan tied to it, and there'll be no enemies sleeping inside of there. But once you have your resources in the power cell, head back out into zone 115, head to the northeastern corner of the area where you'll find that generator, plug the power cell in, and that'll give you access to zone 116. The security door will have a full team scan tied to it, and then afterwards you have to deal with the blood door portion of the door, which 1 or 2 mines, and you really shouldn't have too much difficulty with it. As for zone 116 itself, there will be a fair amount of infectious fog in there, so probably bring the fog turbine with you. And be careful, because this is one of the few zones in the entire level that actually has sleeping enemies inside of it, and most, if not all, of the enemies inside zone 116 are going to be giant strikers. So I would recommend that while you go through here, don't separate from your team all that much. Like, you can go your own ways a little bit, maybe 2 teams of 2, but try to stay close to each other. That way you don't wake up a ton of giants all at once and have a little bit more than you bargained for. So make your way through, deal with the enemies, go collect the resources, grab your IDs, and once you have all the IDs from the zone, you can head out. If you're heading into zone 118, you can find that at the southern end of zone 115 in that first room. This security door is just simply a blood door, so place a mine or 2 on the door, open it up, let the mines do most of the work, and then just deal with any of the enemies that do survive. Zone 118 will also have a fair amount of infectious fog in there, so bring the fog turbine with you. And of course, there are going to be some sleeping enemies, although instead of giant strikers like zone 116, zone 118 for the most part should only consist of regular strikers and shooters. So you don't need to worry too much, just be careful that you don't wake up a large number of them all at once, If that is the case and the biotracker person warns you that maybe 20 or so enemies woke up, just simply fall back, and if you have a door nearby, shut it, mine it, and you should be good. And once you have everything you need from this eastern quadrant, it's time to make your way back through zone 114. So everybody meet up over on the western side of 115, grab that fog turbine, maybe wait for a wave of enemies to spawn in and deal with them first, and then make your way down, and upon entering into zone 114, just do what you can see my team doing. Go to the right, over there you'll be able to find a terminal, and use that terminal to ping the IDs that are in the zone with you. Because the zone is completely covered in infectious fog, you do not want to be in here longer than you need to, as enemies can pretty easily sneak up on you and get some cheeky hits, even if you do have a biotracker. So tag the IDs, and once you know where they are or what rooms they're in, go into those rooms, look around, and collect them, and once you have every single one of them, head to the western side, go up the staircase, get back into zone 112, and once you're in there, you can drop the fog turbine, as you will not need it from this point on. Then finally, for the very last zone, you just have to head all the way to the far western side to the security door to zone 119, plug your color key card into it, and that will unlock it, and then you can deal with the blood door portion of the door. Inside zone 119, there is a little bit of infectious fog, but it's not high enough for it to really become a problem. Although there will be a fair amount of giant strikers as shooters in here, so I would definitely recommend stay close together, don't have everybody go in their own separate direction, and just keep an eye out for the enemies, deal with them, keep an eye out or an ear out for the air alarm enemies, and once you dealt with all of that, just collect your resources as well as the IDs, and once you have all of them, your business in here is done. And for the most part, that's really all there is to the level. Once you pick up that 7th ID, your extraction scan will appear back towards the beginning of the level in the room that you drop down into, but you are going to want to be a little bit careful, because even though there isn't a proper extraction alarm for this level, there is an extraction wave that spawns in. So upon picking up that 7th ID, a wave of approximately 6 giant strikers is going to spawn in almost immediately. So if you're close to extraction, you could just pick up the ID and make a mad dash all the way back to extraction and deal with the giants there. But maybe if you're somewhere much further away, it might be a better idea to just let the giants come to you, deal with them, and once they're dead, then you can make your way back to extraction. Once those 6 giant strikers are dead, the only other enemies in the level you have to worry about are just simply the air alarm enemies, and really that's not a whole lot to deal with. Hold out there for a little bit, deal with a few more air alarm waves, and once you get that scan up to 100%, you are done and you have completed alternate R2C2. And that's all there really is to it. Alternate R2C2 is the first level to introduce the air alarm mechanic to players, and it's definitely one of the nastiest mechanics out there. Air alarms can easily turn a nice, peaceful level where you could take your time into a frenzy where everyone is scrambling to complete the objective as fast as humanly possible. And with so many variations to the air alarm, you never truly know what you're in store for until you're already in the thick of it. As always though, thank you for watching this video all the way to the very end. I do hope that it was able to provide you with some assistance in beating this level. If you have any tips or tricks to this level that you want to share, any questions for me, or you just have something in general that you want to say, please do let me know down in the comments. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more from me, and if you want to join the community I'm building, there's a link to my Discord down in the description, as well as some other links. Among those links being one that will take you to the official GTFO merch store, which I highly recommend you check out if you're a fellow GTFO enthusiast. Until next time, don't forget to take some time every so often to reflect on life and just see how far you've come. And hopefully, I'll see you all in the next video.